Hello to everyone and welcome to today's Cisco virtual event on Prime Infrastructure. My name is Tanner Swift and I'll be your host for today's session. I'm excited to introduce a wonderful speaker for you today, but before I hand the mic over to our presenter, we do have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation. Today's virtual event will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session, and the playback will also be available on YouTube for rewatch as well. We'll provide you with some further details at the end of today's event. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. During the session, if you have any questions for our presenters, you can submit them via the audience Q&A section via Slido, where we will answer your questions live or during the Q&A portion of today's event. You'll see some QR codes sprinkled throughout today's session where you can participate for that Q&A, so be on the lookout for those, as well as a survey at the end of today's session to provide some feedback for us. We'll do our best to get to all the questions that we can. If not, feel free to come talk to us on the Cisco Learning Network. So without further ado, I would like to kick things off by welcoming Solutions Architect Casey Hamilton. Casey, right over to you. Happy to have us.
Thank you, Tanner, and thank you everyone for joining today's discussion on Prime infrastructure migration to Catalyst Center. I will go over everything you need to know in regards to prerequisites and getting ready to, if you're currently using Prime infrastructure, or if you're just interested in Catalyst Center. I have a feeling you'll learn a lot from this session. Today's agenda: we'll go and see the high-level migration strategy overview for Prime infrastructure to Catalyst Center. We'll review different migration services and methods. We'll learn the best practices to perform the migrations, and then you'll understand the Catalyst Center options available for the migration over to Catalyst Center. You'll also understand the differences between the two. Migration overview and preparation will be our first topic. Then we'll go into migration tools, how to perform the migration. We'll go into some form factors available for Catalyst Center. That way you're prepared for scalability and you understand the time and performance of migrating from the older Prime infrastructure to Catalyst Center. We'll follow this up with a live demonstration. I will perform a migration at the end of this session where we can see this in action. We'll see Prime infrastructure migrate many different things. There's a capability to migrate about 5 or 6 different aspects within, about 6 aspects within Prime infrastructure over to Catalyst Center, making it a very seamless experience. All right, so first, let's go into migration overview and preparation. So what are the differences between Prime infrastructure and Catalyst Center? They both have been around a while. Prime infrastructure has been around a lot longer, and Catalyst Center is more modern. It has a lot more capabilities, a lot more features, and it can perform a lot more things. And when it comes to managing your network, it makes it a lot easier to do so, because now our configuration is based on site profiles. All of your configuration is based on sites by a global level. We have simplified day 0 and day in configuration updates via settings, and these are organized by network profiles. This is beyond the scope of this session, but how it works is these configurations will, these templates, they'll get assigned to network profiles, which will get assigned to sites, which will then be deployed to the sites within it. So it's a lot more organized from a Catalyst Center perspective. Also, when it comes to software image management upgrades and Prime, we have separate software upgrade workflows for wired and wireless. Catalyst Center, it's a single workflow for all software upgrades. It's very seamless. You mark a golden image and you update a device to that golden image. It could be wired, wireless, and in the new 3.x version coming out, there's a really neat dashboard regarding software image management. The other thing is image compliance needs to be done manually with scripts within Prime infrastructure. Within Catalyst Center, this is done automatically. It will automatically check compliance, and it performs integrity checks through IV checks and making sure that like MD5 hashes match that image and that it is secure before you update your network devices. Prime infrastructure, also a lot of data, but not enough insights. That was one of the big things. When we're talking about expressing business intent, the biggest thing that we need to work with is we need to understand, all right, so we're collecting all this data, we're performing the configuration on these network devices, we're collecting data back, or collecting telemetry back. What do we do with that data? Catalyst Center specializes and is very good at performing this through things like AI analytics and machine reasoning, and giving you insight into how to improve your network better. And lastly, we have policy and segmentation control. I'm sure many of you are already aware, it's been around for a few years now, it's software-defined access. Catalyst Center supports software-defined access for overlay management, using things like SGT tags and virtual networks to organize and segment control of your network based on the users connected to that network. Private infrastructure does not support that. So if you are interested in implementing software-defined access, this would be another reason to move over to Catalyst Center. Also, the biggest reason is that private infrastructure is end of life, and Catalyst Center is the one that will be used in the going forward. Now, Catalyst Center, natural evolution from Prime. I like to break it down into 4 different personas. We have our SecOps persona, our NetOps persona, our DevOps persona, and our AI Ops persona. When I'm talking about personas, I'm talking about the people who will be working, your staff who will be working with Catalyst Center, and where does their job align? Are they in the security side of things, in which case they'll be working on application policies, SD access, user-defined networks, bonjour. This is all within the SecOps realm. And then we have our NetOps realm, which is more of the automation side of things. SWIM, which is software image management. This is the image management feature that I was talking about. We also have plug and play, which helps with automating and onboarding network devices, both wired and wireless, into your network. And it works in conjunction with SWIM to make sure that the devices getting onboarded into your network get the correct golden image. We have other features such as RMA, device refresh, rolling AP upgrades to make sure as you're upgrading that your wireless network is up at the same time, 3D maps, end of life, and security advisories as well. This is all in the net operations realm for this is going to be mostly your network administrators, your network engineers. SecOps will mostly be your security engineers, security analysts. And we have DevOps. DevOps is going to be more so your programmers, your developers. This is where we're working with APIs. We're working with different integrations. There's about 13 different integrations with Catalyst Center, and there's a lot of capabilities that can be done, for instance, integrating ServiceNow with Catalyst Center through your CMDB backend, integrating Ansible playbooks and using those playbooks to automate your network infrastructure alongside Catalyst Center, working with APIs and creating your own applications to be used with Catalyst Center. There's a bunch of things you can do within the DevOps realm of Catalyst Center. And then lastly, we have our AI Ops. It's going to be mostly our network analysts, this kind of realm, and also our support team. This is where we collect that data. And not only are we collecting the data, the telemetry data, but we're also looking at how can we leverage this data to improve our business intent and make further configuration changes to fine tune our network. And we have various things such as AI, ML, based analytics, path trace, issue suggestions, POE, assurance. We have new features such as energy insights. How is energy being consumed within your network? Thousand eyes integrations to see what's happening over the WAN. And then we have intelligent packet capture, which will give you a lot of insight and troubleshooting capabilities into your wireless network and how it works. So there's a lot of capabilities, and it is not limited to that. There's a lot more as well that you can do in a bunch of different integrations, such as ICE as well for that. Now, this is a sequential approach to a prime migration. First, you want to understand Catalyst Center. We kind of already did that, but there's a lot more to learn about Catalyst Center before you make the move. Be sure to check out the demo guides We have webinars where we, just like this one, where we can educate you a little bit more on it. Once you understand Catalyst Center and you're ready to make the move, you want to assess your Prime usage and Catalyst Center compatibility. This comes down to the compatibility matrix for Prime infrastructure and Catalyst Center, which I'm going to go over during the demo. I'm going to pull that compatibility matrix up and point out a few things you may need to know. Next, you'll want to prepare for the data migration. There's a really neat tool that will help with that. It's called the PDART tool. I will go over that later in the presentation. Then you'll want to initiate the data migration. This can take some time depending on the size of your migration. How big, how many network devices are within Prime currently? How many sites? How many locations? Is CMX integrated? Is ICE integrated? Are we moving all of this stuff over to Catalyst Center? And depending on this, how much data you're moving, and also what kind of Catalyst Center, like what type of appliance and what type of Prime infrastructure appliance you're moving data to and from. That can also depend on it, and also distance and distance and speed. So this all comes into play when performing that migration, and it can take some time, but I will give you an example near the end of this presentation to kind of give you an idea of how long that might take. And then we have our, then you'll complete your data migration and adopt Catalyst Center. This is where all of your hierarchy will be migrated over, your network devices will be migrated over, and you'll be ready to go from the get-go to start using the capabilities within Catalyst Center. All right, so system pre-checks. You'll want to check the online compatibility matrix. Again, I'm going to show you that in a second. You want to verify that the minimum version is 3.5 or above. This is for the PDART tool, which is going to check the readiness for a migration, and then the migration tool. So there's two different tools that need to be used before performing the migration. Just make sure you're on 3.5. Make sure Prime infrastructure appliance has reachability to Catalyst Center. Of course, yes, it will need layer 3 reachability. It'll need to know Catalyst Center's IP address, and it also will need root access. Super user privilege. When we perform the migration, I'll point this out during the demo. When you're putting in the IP address of Catalyst Center into Prime infrastructure, the user, it also needs a user because Prime needs to be able to log in to Catalyst Center. The user needs to have super user privilege in order to do so. And you also need to have root privilege. So when you're logged into Prime and performing all of this, make sure you are at the root level of Prime in order to do this. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it, because this is such a intense administrative task of performing a full migration of your entire network over to a new centralized location. We need to make sure we're on these level of privileges. So user access on Catalyst appliance will need to be the super admin role. Best practices for migration: make sure you review the CVD, the Cisco Validated Profile, for Cisco Prime Infrastructure to Catalyst Center migration. This is online. Just give it a simple Google search, Cisco Prime Infrastructure to Catalyst Center migration. Make sure devices in Prime are synchronized and in a complete state. These are your network devices. Verify that the same hierarchy data to be synced is not in the Catalyst Center network hierarchy. This is going to cause issues, and it'll cause the migration to fail, because essentially what you're doing, Catalyst Center is going to get confused, because if you do this, Prime infrastructure is going to basically move a network hierarchy that already exists in Catalyst Center, and Catalyst Center will reject that and then the migration will fail. So just make sure that that's not already there. Check compatibility with Catalyst Center for devices to be synced. Enable device controllability within Catalyst Center for system settings. Device controllability is a feature that is implemented at the time of devices getting onboarded into Catalyst Center, and it helps with many things. Specifically, it helps with collecting telemetry, collecting assurance data to be used for Catalyst Center to collect the insights. Device controllability is not mandatory. However, it's highly recommended because without it, you will lose many of the features available. And then once migrated, one appliance will need to be read-only to avoid conflicts. So essentially what this will be is the ideal scenario is prime infrastructure will be read-only. Now you can do changes. There's a coexistence feature, which I will go over, and I will go over how to enable that. So you can make changes in prime after the migration and have those automatically be synced over. I'll show you how to do that. But once migrated, the ideal scenario is that Catalyst Center becomes write, the only write-based application, and then Prime becomes read-only. So the migration tools. Prime data migration tool is an automated migration tool for moving data from Prime to Catalyst Center. We've already covered that. Use the Prime to Catalyst Center assessment and readiness tool, the PDAR tool, beforehand to assess the readiness of the migration. And this is what'll happen. We do the pre-checks. This is the PDAR tool. Make sure Prime version 3.5 is available. You'll need to be on the root user for access. And again, enable device controllability in Catalyst Center. Check the compatibility matrix. Check your hierarchy. Make sure you're good to go there. So all this report is going to do is it's going to give you a full report, and it can be quite lengthy. It's very thorough. It's going to check a lot of different use cases and make sure you're good to go before you perform the migration. Once this is done, and it doesn't take too long to run the PDAR tool, you'll set up the configuration for the migration tool. This is where you'll enter within Prime the Catalyst Center IP address, and then you'll add the Catalyst Center super admin role credentials. From here, you will go through a workflow, and you will specify the location groups from Prime that you want to migrate over, which will become the network hierarchy of Catalyst Center. You want to select the devices. So all the devices within Prime will be migrated over to Catalyst Center. If there's any devices that are not supported by Catalyst Center but are in Prime, they will still be migrated over to Catalyst Center. However, when you go to the inventory of Catalyst Center, they'll be marked as unsupported device. They will lack capabilities and features that compatible devices do support. So you won't get much value from having those devices in there. And it may potentially be a good idea to remove those from the inventory at that point, because you won't get much value from the features that are available. Or you can keep them in just as a CMDB resource and know that these devices are there as well. Another thing is it'll import heat maps. You'll specify your AP locations. You can import CLI templates. So any of your CLI templates, both system and custom created within Prime, those can be used and moved over to Catalyst Center within its new thing. It used to be called Template Editor in Catalyst Center. Then it changed to Template Hub, and now it's called CLI Templates. It's changed, and it's under the design section of Catalyst Center. And lastly, this is, again, we're configuring the migration. We're not performing the migration yet at this step, but here we can select to import ICE and CMX in there. So if we already have ICE and CMX integrated with Prime infrastructure, during this workflow, we can select and let Catalyst Center know that, hey, we're about to move these systems over to you, and the integration is that seamless. So once the migration is complete, ICE and CMX would be migrated over to Catalyst Center as well. Lastly, it'll verify the devices, locations. It'll do a sync setup. It'll verify templates, and it'll verify ICE and CMX. And finally, we have our coexistence and adoption. Once this is complete, once the verification of data is complete, we can start using ICE Catalyst Center for assurance and collect data. And if Prime is used for automation, we can use the coexistence model. So if we're still adding network devices, we're still adding different sites, Prime will recognize this as long as during the migration, we check the boxes that enable coexistence. They will automatically be uploaded over to Catalyst Center from Prime. I'll show you more about that during the demo as well. For the Prime to Catalyst Center assessment and readiness tool, this is kind of how it looks. I will show you this in the demo as well. Note it supports 170 plus use cases, so it's very thorough in its evaluation. It identifies migration readiness and it simplifies the migration process. Highly recommend it to do this before. All you have to do is when you go to the Prime data migration tool within Prime, you'll click execute PDART, and then it'll take usually about 3 minutes or so. Then you'll click download report, and it'll come up with a report to make sure that you are good to go for the migration. Here is an example of what that report looks like. This was done on DNAC version 2.3.5, Prime 3.10. And you can see it's letting you know which devices are supported, which devices are legacy, which devices are unsupported in regards to when you're migrating over to Catalyst Center. It's going to let you know of anything that's failing that might come and be an issue when you do the migration itself. So you can see a lot of data here. The Prime data migration tool, this is the next step. It's actually in the same window as the PDART tool. It's just over to the right. You'll click launch Prime data migration tool, which will initiate the workflow. Again, this is where we initiate the migration of maps, topology, devices, configurations, CLIs, templates, ICE, and CMX. The really neat thing about Prime as well is that on floor plans within Prime, if you're aware of the locations in Prime, you can put floor plans at the floor level. Those will be migrated as well over to Catalyst Center, and I'll show you that in action during the demo. Secure communications, it is done over port 443 TCP, and it's a one-way synchronization. You cannot migrate from Catalyst Center to Prime. It's Prime to Catalyst Center. This is how you initiate coexistence. So again, coexistence is if after the migration, I make changes to Prime, such as adding more devices, adding a new location, these will automatically be synced. You would want to check one or both boxes depending on your needs. So if I check the first box, what it's going to do is any modified groups, any existing groups that I moved over to Catalyst Center, if they were modified, then Catalyst Center will get the changes from Prime. Now, the next one is if I create any new groups with side elements, devices, they will automatically get synced with Catalyst Center. So if you want full coexistence, check both boxes. If you just want it to where any modified groups are that were already migrated over to Catalyst Center, then you would just check the first box. So this is kind of a glimpse of how the demo is going to look. I'm going to go through each of these, and you can see here, like the first step was to add Catalyst Center. You can enable CMX settings, enable ICE settings. If you check these boxes, it's going to move CMX and ICE over to Catalyst Center, which will then going forward be managed by Catalyst Center, not Prime. Prime will no longer be managing CMX or ICE. It will no longer be integrated with it at that point. And then we have migrate user-defined CLI templates. So again, these are this will go over to the CLI templates tab within Catalyst Center. Anything you created here will show up in Catalyst Center after the migration. And to perform the migration, first, again, we add Catalyst Center IP, we put the username in, we enable auto sync if desired, and we check ICE and CMX. From here, we select the network hierarchy that currently exists within Prime. And then what we're going to do is, because we added the IP address and credentials of Catalyst Center in step 1, what we're going to do is here, Prime is going to now be aware, because it can log into Catalyst Center, it's going to be aware of the hierarchy within Catalyst Center, the current hierarchy. And what we're going to do in step 3 is map the Prime infrastructure hierarchy over to the hierarchy within Catalyst Center. That way it fits according to how we want it to. It makes it very seamless and easy integration. I will show you that during the demo. We have the ability to add CMX server, ICE server, make sure certificates are in order, you know your shared secrets, and make sure everything is good to go there. And then we have post-migration check. So finally, it's going to review and make sure everything worked successfully for the migration. And it's going to let you know of any issues that occurred during the migration, such as maybe CMX not moving over to ICE, to Catalyst. Next, we have our migration guidelines. So you can integrate only one Catalyst Center server at a time on the Prime data migration tool, but you can add multiple servers. So again, you can only integrate one at a time, but you can do it on multiple servers. So if you have multiple Catalyst Center servers, you can perform it that way. You have to do it one at a time in order for it to work correctly. Once the CMX is migrated to Catalyst Center, it will not be managed by Cisco Prime infrastructure anymore. We already covered that. You'll limit the number of sites and devices to be migrated. Will depend on the Catalyst Center appliance model. So make sure when you are doing your migration, make sure that within Prime, the network devices within it, the amount of network, both wired and wireless, check Catalyst Center's design documents and make sure that the amount of devices that you are migrating over match that of what the appliance that you are using for Catalyst Center supports. Any legacy devices, again, they're going to be marked as not supported by Catalyst Center during the migration. And you can keep these in the inventory if you want. Just know that they will lack feature capability. Next, we have starting in Prime version 3.9, netconf port details will be synced for devices like the Catalyst Center 9800. So if you have a 9800 WLC within Prime, netconf port details from Prime will be migrated with the 9800 over to Catalyst Center. And then access points, position, and maps in Cisco Prime infrastructure will migrate only if we have a fully managed, if we fully manage the WLC. All right, so lastly, before we go into the demo, let's go into Catalyst Center form factors. What do I mean by this? Form factors, what do they include? These are what kind of appliances is Catalyst Center? Where can you use it? Where can you deploy it? And there's 3 methods currently. Soon to be one more. Soon to be Azure is about to be supported as well. But for now, we have our actual physical Catalyst Center appliance. It's supported in AWS as well, so you can deploy Catalyst Center there as an instance. And then we have our VMware ESXi, where it'll be deployed as a virtual instance as well. So you have multiple methods to deploy Catalyst Center. Currently, 3.7.9 is the recommended version for Catalyst Center, and 3.x is going to be released very, very soon. Next, we have our Catalyst Center platform scale. These are just our scales of if you're in the market, you're looking for an appliance, this is what you need to know. Over to the right-hand side, we have our Prime Infrastructure Gen 3 appliance where we can see, how many endpoints does it support, network devices, WLCs, APs, and take this into account when you're performing the migration. If you know how many devices are within Prime Infrastructure, this may help you select, hey, which appliance do I need to get for Catalyst Center? So we can see our scaling from a virtual appliance, ESXi, AWS perspective, and then we have our actual physical appliances. We have our medium appliance, which is 56 cores, our large appliance, and then our XL appliance, which is our highest performing model. If you're running a very large network, recommended to get this. Again, if you're running smaller networks, you might get by with getting a virtual appliance or a medium appliance. And lastly, here is the Cisco validated profile scale and performance. This is to give you an idea of how long it might take. If I have a Catalyst Center appliance that's 112 cores, then I have a Prime Infrastructure VM that has this this capability right here. And I am migrating sites with migrating 2,000 sites within floor maps, 2,000 wired devices, 500 templates, 10,000 access points, 10 wireless controllers and 20,000 clients. If I'm migrating all of this over, it's going to expected time taken 6 hours. Now, 6 hours might seem like a lot of time, but that is a lot of data we're moving over from Prime to Catalyst Center. So it is very quick at getting the data over. It just needs to sort through and send that data from one system to another. And with that, that leads me to the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the demo and we will see this in action. Give me just a second while I log in. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of Catalyst Center first. I'm going to show you that the data does not currently exist within Catalyst Center, and then we'll perform the migration and review it again. Catalyst Center, I am currently on version 2.3.7.7. 2.3.7.7. Prime infrastructure. I am on 3.10.2. Now this leads me to the actual matrix, compatibility matrix. If you need to see if it's compatible, you need to make sure that your versioning is compatible with it. Now, and this is where you'll go to see that, but one thing to note is you don't, you'll see an instance of 3.1.5 here for the ESXi VA. So with 3.1.5 coming out, make sure that you are on this version. I've tested it on 3.9x and it wasn't compatible. The migration didn't go through. Make sure you are on 3.10.6 for the Prime migration tool. You can get this from software.cisco.com. Upgrade Prime infrastructure to that version, and then you'll be able to perform that migration to 3.1x. Okay. So I wanted to call that out because it's not clearly defined within this compatibility matrix. However, after testing, that is what I found. All right, so let's go back over to Catalyst Center. There's a few things we're going to be migrating here. There's going to be, if I go to the inventory, there's going to be a device called shared services, which I will migrate over. You can see it is currently not listed in the inventory. We have other devices, but I'm going to migrate a device called shared services over to Catalyst Center. The next thing we are going to do is design network hierarchy. We are going to migrate a network hierarchy called Site B. It's in Prime. It's called Site B, and we're going to migrate that over to the London location of Catalyst Center. Currently, you can see that that does not exist. Okay, so now let's go over to Prime. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you the, first I'm going to show you the maps. I'm going to show you Site B. We can see our site maps here. And we have Site B. And drill down through here, go to B2. All this is going to be migrated. Site B, B2, B2-1. This floor plan right here, this is also going to be migrated over to Catalyst Center. Okay. And then I'm going to go to configuration, network devices. And we'll see our shared services dcloud device right here. Here's its IP address. This is going to be migrated over to the inventory of Catalyst Center. There's other things you can migrate as well. If you're wanting to migrate ICE, you would click ICE servers. You have ICE integrated. It'll be sent over to Catalyst Center if you check the box during the migration flow. And you can migrate things such as templates, CMX, a bunch of different stuff. For CMX, you go to services, connected mobile experiences, and we can see we have CMX reachable right here. Only thing is, make sure all these systems that you're migrating over are compatible with Catalyst Center for it to work. Okay, so now that we went over all that, let's perform the migration. We'll go to Prime Data Migration Tool, and we click Execute PDART Tool. Execution is in progress. This will take a bit of time. I showed you the report, a little sample of the report during the PowerPoint deck. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over this, but do know it will let you know once this is complete and then you would click download report and go over it. Okay, and then after this, you would analyze the report, see any issues that might come up, and then you'll click Launch Prime Data Migration Tool. This is where we start our workflow. You'll want to input your server IP, your super admin. Remember, it needs to have super admin role, and your password. This is where we're putting in the IP address of Catalyst Center. I know it says Cisco DNA Center right here, but it is formerly known as Cisco DNA Center. Here we're inputting the IP address. It's auto-filled for me because I've already put this in before, so it will remember it once you already put it in and click update. But if you're starting from scratch, you'll want to put all this in and put in the super admin role. At this point, it'll go in and it will try and log in to Catalyst Center. Upon success, we'll have a check mark right here, and then we can go to the next button. Here's where we can check different stuff. Do we want to migrate templates? It's automatically going to migrate sites and groups. We'll select the location groups in just a second. But if we don't have CMX, we don't have ICE, we can uncheck these. I'm going to leave these checked. For coexistence, again, to automatically, if after the migration, if you make any changes in Prime, check these boxes during this section right here. And then if any changes are done to various locations or network devices, then Prime, it'll migrate over to Catalyst Center. All right, so I'm going to click next here. I have it how I want it. And I'm going to look at the locations. Over to our left-hand side, we have our locations within Prime. So site B all the way down to the floor level. Once I have that selected, so I'm letting Prime know these are the sites that I want to move over. I don't want to move over System Campus. I want to move over this network hierarchy. Now I'm going to click Select Parent. This is the hierarchy that is currently within Catalyst Center. We have United Kingdom. Let me go to this real quick. So we'll see it right here, right? United Kingdom, United States. So it's already detected that. So I'm gonna select London. This is where I'm gonna migrate it to. I'm gonna migrate these over here over to the London sites. So I'm gonna click OK, and you can see it says marked for migration. It'll give you a little summary of how this is going to look during the migration. Then I'm gonna go ahead and click next. I've noticed this will be a thing. Sometimes you need to make sure, sometimes the shared secret will not show up. So make sure you put this back in. Shared secret is going to be ICE's method of securely communicating with network devices. So make sure that this is inputted in so that ICE can, after the integration, the migration is complete for ICE, that it can still talk to network devices. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in here, and then be sure to click save. And I'm going to click next. Now, one thing to note, ICE is already integrated with Catalyst Center, so that part will fail during the migration. We do already have ICE integrated with Catalyst Center in this. However, if ICE was not integrated, then you'll see it fail, but I just wanted to point that out. So here's a little summary of everything, all the devices, maps, ICE, CMX, sync settings, everything here. This is what we're going to go ahead and do it. We'll go down here and we'll click for sync. And click yes, and it's going to perform the migration. It'll take just a few minutes. So we have initially, it's what it's doing right now. It's initializing, then it's doing a group migration. This is migrating our actual locations. And then it's going to do a maps migration. So within the location groups, it's going to have our maps, and those are going to be like our floor plans that I mentioned earlier. And given this is such a small amount of data that we're migrating over, I mean, it's just one location and one network device. It's going to happen very quickly. It's only take about a couple minutes. So now it's doing the maps migration. Once this finishes, it's going to attempt to do the ICE migration, and you will see it error out as well. So we'll give it just a little bit longer. Yeah, you can see it errored out, but the force sync was done successfully. The ICE is already integrated with Catalyst Center, but we were able to perform the migration. All right, so now let's go to Catalyst Center and see how it looks. So I'm going to refresh our network hierarchy page, and if everything went well, you can see site B right here. So we have site 1, site 2, and then we have site B located under London, which is exactly how we wanted it to be. So the migration is complete. If I click B2-1, I can see the floor plan that we saw earlier in Catalyst Center. So that was migrated as well. And lastly, what we want to check, since we are migrating two different things, we want to check our inventory, and we want to see that shared services is there, which it is. Shared services is here, reachable and managed. It is already assigned to that site, so you don't need to go into Catalyst Center and reassign it to a site. It'll already be there. But that concludes the demo. The migration is now complete. So I'm going to go back over to the slide deck in just a second. And let's end with some key points to remember. First off, verify system pre-checks before attempting migration, and remember to use the automated Prime PDART tool and or the ARA validation tool on your Catalyst Center. I didn't really cover the ARA validation tool, but ARA is not for Prime; it's for Catalyst Center. It's to make sure that it's compatible and everything's running smooth within Catalyst Center before the migration. Next, it is recommended and best practice to use the automated Prime migration tool for syncing data, and also to use the coexistence feature. That way, if you make any changes in the future, you don't need to redo the whole migration again. It'll make those single changes all at once. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Tanner. Thank you, everyone. I hope you got a lot of value from this presentation. And back over to you, Tanner.
Thanks so much, Casey. Really appreciate it. Always enjoy a good demo during our sessions. So we are going to get to the Q&A portion of today's event. Just as a quick reminder, if you do have any questions for Casey, you can head on over to Slido and submit those questions there, and we will get to them now. And in case we don't, come talk to us on the Cisco Learning Network. We'll have a post-event discussion thread where you can come continue to talk to us and ask questions about anything that we have covered today. So Casey, a couple questions here. Let's start with this first one. Can I make changes from Catalyst Center to Prime infrastructure?
No. Once you set up the Prime migration, it's only one way, so you can't make changes from Catalyst Center at all. It has to be done from Prime over to Catalyst Center because that's what we're migrating to for future as well.
Thank you. Here's another one. Does the Prime share changes on the topology to Catalyst Center automatically?
Yes, Prime infrastructure could sync new details to Catalyst Center if we selected the proper sync settings. During the initial force sync, you'll be able to sync topology data as well.
And kind of a follow-up to that as well. Does the Prime share devices config to Catalyst Center?
Sure does. It'll share the SNMP and CLI credentials. And from there, Catalyst Center will provision its own device controllability settings, assuming it's enabled, and it'll push it all out to the devices that are discovered and managed within Catalyst Center.
Great, thank you. Here's one. Do I need to upgrade my Prime to work with Catalyst Center?
You do. You again, make sure you look at the compatibility matrix. Make sure if you're wanting to use the coexistence tool, make sure you're on 3.5 or above. But definitely review the compatibility matrix, and as long as everything checks out, you should be good to go with the migration.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. This one comes in from Mohammed. What is the major benefits of migrating to Catalyst Center?
There are a lot of benefits. I'd say the biggest benefit is going to be the insights and making sure that it matches your business intent. There are such powerful tools within Catalyst Center that can help you make sure that your configuration is matching that intent. There's a lot of capabilities, including a lot of artificial intelligence and machine reasoning features. And there's also software-defined access, which can help automate and streamline your network infrastructure management as well.
Here's another good question. I know we did a demo and you talked through some slides today, Casey. Is there a good step-by-step guide that I can go to help with this migration?
Yeah, there's a infrastructure guide. One thing, this recording will be shared, so you'll be able to look at that at the end. But there's also a guide on how to do it. It depends on what version you're on. But what I'm going to do, I'll send it in the post discussion thread. It's going to be on the recommended release for migrating to Prime, but I'll post that over to the thread.
Great. That'd be great. And as Casey mentioned, there will be a post event discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network where it'll have today's recording as well as some recommended resources for you, including that step-by-step guide to assist you with migrating. Let's see. Here's another question. How do we access that one? We just covered accessing the documentation for this powerful tool. Casey will share some resources to be able to use. Let me just check some other questions here. At the moment, that does look like it covers the questions that we have at the moment. Casey, is there anything else that you'd like to cover with our attendees before we wrap up here?
Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you got a lot of value from this demonstration. And if you have any questions, definitely give a post within the post-session discussion thread. And everyone, y'all have a great day.
Thanks so much, Casey. Want to thank you once again. Thank our producer, James McDonough, and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community today. If you do have an additional question for us, we'll keep that Q&A panel on Slido open for a couple more minutes and try to answer a few more questions if we can. Otherwise, come on over to that post-event discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network. At this time, the Slido post-event survey is now live. We ask that you take a moment to answer a few questions for us. It helps us prepare for some future sessions and bring you some more tech events that you all are interested in. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future webinars, please visit the Cisco Learning Network. You can follow up with any further questions and view resources from today's session via that post-event discussion post. Once again, we thank everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the Cisco Learning Network.